We are going live. What? Okay. We are going live and there is a delay. So just plan on anything from here on out is going to be on the YouTubes.
For that.
All right. We are officially live, though I cannot see what is happening at this very moment in time, which is, oh, there. Now I can. Let's see. Wait, where'd you go? Okay, sorry if anyone is watching and trying to figure out what is going on. We're as lost as you are. Okay, we're officially live. It's happening. I see us, they see us, we see each other. And really this is just an opportunity for us to hang out, which, you know, these days is just virtually. But hey guys, welcome to a little PNV preview. I am hosting this live tasting in like, what are we now, 55 minutes from now. And I was thinking about Premiere Napa Valley and all the wonderfulness that is Premiere. And I was trying to, in my mind, I was like, you know, how do I communicate the importance and the uniqueness and the crazy situation that is not only PNV Day, but PNV Week. And then also help to explain like just how special these wines are. And I was like, well, I can try to do it myself, but it would be better if I had people who were also there with me. And so I texted you guys yesterday and you're like, yeah, let's do it. So welcome. For those who don't know, the three people that are not in these squares that are me, we've got Carey Vanderborg, who is, I guess, to my left, Jodi Bronchtein, directly at my adjacent corner, and then below me. Actually, that's different on YouTube, so apologize, Taylor and Jodi. Taylor is the one with the scruffy beard who says Taylor in the corner, if you haven't figured that out. Taylor, what's going on? What's going on? Have you just not like you lost your razor, your shaver? What's going on?
Yeah, we'll go with that. It's it's No Shave November, right? Officially, we can blame it on that excuse now, right?
I'm not convinced that's the thing, but I'll take it. Well, I'm really excited to see you guys. Number one, this is, like I said, just an excuse to hang out, but also an excuse to sort of reminisce about, I think, one of everyone's favorite events that happened with us. And as many of you know out there who are watching, I ran the wine program at Press for a period of time and had these wonderful sommeliers next to me to really run the show, because I just kind of stood there and looked pretty.
Not true.
True, to an extent.
These are lies. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, these guys put up with me for a period of time that I was wine director, and were wonderful at doing so. And we had a lot of fun in the process. So let's talk about Premiere. Jodi, Carey, you were there for my first one. I had in the Valley like 3 years at that point, never been to a PNV. Obviously celebrated some events around it, but the first experience that any of us had, it was the three of us. So one, did either of you know what PNV Premiere Napa Valley was before coming to Napa Valley? And two, what were your anticipatory feelings going into the event?
Jodi, you may
begin.
Yeah. Sure, I'll go first. I had heard about Premiere Napa Valley just because I followed the vintners and I was on their mailing list. So I kind of knew around what it was about. I knew it was a big deal, but nothing more specific than that. And I think the anticipatory feelings, which is a beautiful word, by the way, were kind of enhanced by the fact that it was also your first time being there and you'd been in the Valley for a long time. And they sent this, if I remember correctly, this like super gorgeous box with like passes, and
I think butterflies came out of it.
It was, yeah, and Stevie Nicks sang a song over it and Jesus waved. It was beautiful. So I was just really excited to go there with you guys because it seemed like a huge deal and I wanted you to be in front introducing us to all the people.
Oh, that's true. That was, you guys were only about what, a month and change into being in the Valley, right?
Yeah.
And Carey, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I had heard of Premiere Napa Valley on social media. You see, a buzz about it, during February of every year. But, actually being in Napa Valley in February of 2019, we had just gotten there like probably a month before. And it was a lot to take in at first because we were brand new, and being on the Somm team at Press, it's definitely it's a big deal. It's a big deal for me. Definitely a lot of people think of that position as definitely a great position to have in the Valley. So when you're at the tastings and tasting the wines and meeting all the people, it was a lot for me to take in because it was so overwhelming. I felt like, there was so much going on. And then you definitely emphasized how busy it was going to be at the restaurant. So doing the tastings during the day and then going to the restaurant, working at night, it was a lot to take in, but it was absolutely fantastic. I definitely felt more comfortable the second year, obviously 2020. So, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a fun time. So
yeah. And Taylor, you were just a little flicker in our eye at that point, but on your way, we were ready to have you, but you just weren't there yet.
Right. Well, I had gone in 2018.
Right. I was gonna say you had been before. So what were your takeaways having gone to Premiere?
Well, I think I didn't really know what to expect when I came out in 2018 before press was even on my radar. It was one of those things where it was like chasing a unicorn. You hear about this mythical event that's like going on and you don't really know what to expect. And I remember, basically, to sum up, like my first PNV when I was still living in Colorado, like I landed on a Thursday morning, went to the first event, and basically had a wine glass like in my hand until I left Monday morning. I mean,
that sounds right.
I mean, if I didn't have a wine glass in my hand, I was eating food or I was sleeping. And it was meeting everyone. Everyone obviously travels around, and it was insane. I mean, the first year with not living in the Valley, it was just like, well, let's try this. Well, let's try that. Well, I have palate fatigue and I can't taste anything, but we're going to try to taste this now.
It really is like it's like, if you've ever gone on a cruise and it's just sort of a powerhouse of a week, it's a little like that, with the big midnight buffet at the end where you just want to eat everything, but you can't because you've eaten everything from the week prior. It's a little like that. Yeah. Maybe the cruise reference isn't so 2020 friendly, but here we are. I'll say before we start getting into the fun stuff, Premiere Napa Valley happens in February of every year. It is an industry only event. It is a live auction preceded by a barrel tasting. So the only people who can go to Premiere Napa Valley are people with licenses to resell wine. So retailers, buyers for oh my gosh. Hello, puppy.
Hi, Loretta.
Hi, Loretta.
Look at Jodi's face. Oh my
God. Dogs always make for a good video. It's all good. We're good. It's not, it's live TV.
Murder.
But anyway, so basically what happens is this thing happens every year. And the industry is invited to it. People literally come from all over the world to attend Premiere Napa Valley. And it is a huge event of monumental proportions that you can't really describe until you experience it. And I did prep Jodi and Carey before going into it. And I was like, listen, guys, here's the thing. Premiere, it's going to kick your ass in like a great way, but it's going to kick your ass. And from, basically Monday through the tasting, which is on Saturday, and that's sort of the culmination of everything, there are all of these other events that are sort of around the tasting. And really all they are events to get people sort of excited, to get, paddles up and bidding. So it's tasting of, it's like a en primeur or a espèce de bon. It's sort of our version of that in Napa Valley. And so it brings in the who's who of the wine world, and it's just sort of a party all freaking week. And of course, everyone always came to press. So not only would we be going to all these tastings during the day, we would then arrive at press, drink a lot of coffee, and then try to do service at night, and then start all over the day after. Yes, Miss Bronchtein.
Was the Schaefer tasting, wasn't that part of PNV?
It wasn't part of it. It just happened to coincide with it. So yes, that did add to the shitstorm that was that week. So in addition, we can talk about that. Yeah. So let's go back. So yeah, so I don't know how many of the tastings you all remember from that week, from what is that, PNV 19, but I guess the week started Tuesday, Wednesday. Do you remember what the first tasting was? I don't.
I remember Carey and I talked about it because it was like January and it was slow, and then it was February, and it was really nice. And, we had this great overview of press. We were getting to know where everything was. Yeah. And you kept being like, guys, seriously, like, make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure you're hydrating. We were like, what is she talking about? Like, we are seasoned professionals. Please take a nap. We got it. And I remember stopping one of my favorite female winemakers in Napa Valley at Premiere and being like, how many years have you done this? And she said, since it started. And I was like, how do you do it? And she's like, it's really hard. Like, people are like prepping for weeks. It's
wild.
It's brutal. It's brutal. I think after the Schaefer tasting, I went home to change. And I believe that I fell asleep in the chair for 3 hours and was late for my shift to then see everybody that had been drinking all day come into the dining room and get crazier wine after crazier wine. Like, just whatever was on the list that was the most expensive and the rarest. Just a bacchanalia of Caligula proportions.
I think the first tasting, Amanda, was the Spotswood tasting, because I remember.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think because then Jodi and I went to the Schaefer tasting after that, and then we went to work.
And then we came to work all night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was it. I think I went to more tastings in 2020 than I did in 2019. I think that, I was still coming out of my shell a little bit. I was still not like very, very, very not as comfortable as I am now, going through the valley, of course, but because it's a lot when you're at these tastings that Amanda just described. It's, there are a lot of winemakers, there are a lot of very important importers and distributors and retailers and hospitality people. So being new to the valley, it's like going to a new school. You don't really feel like, that comfortable. So it was a lot to take in. But in 2020, I mean, I did a post about it on social media. I felt like everywhere you went, you just knew everybody, all the winemakers, tasting all the wines. The 18s were great. And it was just a little bit more of a free-flowing environment for me personally, because I felt much more comfortable. It was a year later, so of course,
Yeah. Taylor, what say you? I know you weren't there in 18, but the year prior and then 2020, what were your thoughts?
Well, I'm crazy, and I remember like each year, and especially this year of 2020, I treat it like a baton death march. It's like, all right, the first tasting is, it's like, all right, first tasting's here. We'll taste for half an hour. I will speed taste. I'll go get coffee. I'll have a croissant. I'll go to the next one. It takes this long to like drive to this next tasting, but how many tastings are up valley in this region? I remember, I think this last year, it was like, well, I want to go to like 14 events. And it was just like, I'm gonna go to the 9 o'clock tasting, and then the 10 o'clock tasting, and then the 10:30 tasting. And I remember the first year was crazy because my first event was at Auberge, and then we went over to Charles Krug for the St. Helena tasting. And one of the wines, when I was working for a distribution company, we represented Tom Rinaldi, of Duckhorn. And here we are drinking wine casually with Tom Rinaldi in his khaki pants, with his hat, just drinking wine, living his best life. And I'm like, this isn't reality. Like, we're drinking, and we're not drinking Franzia here. We're drinking millions of dollars of some of the best wine in the world. And just really to like wrap your head around that is impossible. Unless you're in the trenches actually doing it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that sort of like paints the picture of what, essentially culminates on that Saturday tasting. So everyone has been in the valley tasting, getting to know the vintners, tasting some of the, previews of the lots that are happening on Saturday. And then Saturday morning happens and the floodgates open. We all go to the CIA up in St. Helena, just across the street from Charles Krug. It's offsite parking. It's the whole thing. You got to get a ride because, like, God forbid you get stuck there and then have to go to work and then you can't. So you arrive and it's there might as well be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows over the whole damn place because it's just electric. Like, you arrive and you're just like, your breath is taken away. If you've never been, it's just, you can't wrap your head around it. It's like going to the Super Bowl for wine. And so you walk in the door. Yeah.
It felt like the James Beard Awards. It literally felt like going to the James Beard Awards, where every single person you see is somebody that you know, or that you know without knowing them. You're like, oh my God, that's so-and-so from this. And they're just pouring wines and they're just around. And it was a whole room full of that, plus food and music.
So much food.
It was
I don't know that there's a more exciting day in Napa Valley on the calendar. I honestly think it, like you said, it's the Super Bowl of the wine industry in North America.
Yeah, I think you're right. And we think about, other events like Auction Napa Valley, and it's not quite the same, that you still have the excitement around it, but it's not industry. And I think that's what makes this so special, is that it's industry. And so you get to the second floor, open the doors, and it's just all around craziness, barrels, winemakers, somms. Did we bring our little taste of it, or did we actually no, we just did it. Okay.
I just remember seeing Hugh Davies pouring a recently disgorged ridiculousness. What was it? 78, 80? And it was fire. Yeah. It was ridiculous. I was like, that's Hugh Davies. What's this wine? Just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Every bit of it.
So what's in the barrels? I'm sure, we'll get to that. You go around basically and you're tasting these lots. Now, of course, a lot of us have tasted some of these already, courtesy of the tasting show that week, but this is an opportunity to see what we're going to be bidding on. Or some people are going to be bidding on because we can't afford to bid on some of these things. But basically what happens is all of these vintners put together custom cuvées. Some of them are collaboration lots. Some of them are vineyards they don't normally work with. Sometimes it's, whole varietals they don't normally work with, single isolated barrels out of, their, tete-to-tete to cuvée. Whatever it is, it's special, and it's only for the Premiere Napa Valley auction. And so what happens is, all these industry people here have been partying it up, living their best life. Saturday, they taste the wines, and then we go to auction and paddles go up, and it's debauchery. But before that, we should talk about that tasting, the barrel tasting, because I don't know about you, but your breath sort of just gets sucked out of you, because you see all of these people and they're just around you, and it's wine. And like you said, Jodi, it's Bacchanalia. But what were some of do you ever remember smiling more in a moment in your life?
No, really, no.
I felt so special because everybody who I knew, my friends that were, living in the apartment next to me, everyone was standing in the back and we had seats. So I was we must be pretty important. We're sitting all the way up here. Everyone else was like, hey, what's up? So that was really cool for me.
I remember when I went, I was with my business partner, and I mean, we had been there for the barrel tasting probably an hour or so, hour and a half. And I remember we're both just looking at each other. Of course, we have the Napa red teeth just stained from fresh pressed juice. And I remember him just tapping out, him being like, Taylor, I can't taste anything more. I'm like, okay, well, let's walk to the door. But then of course, on the way to the door, it's like, wait, we should really try that. Oh, okay, sure. Taste it. All right, let's go to the door. On the way, we should really try that. It's just a black hole of tasting that is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
What was also very cool for me to see when the auction was actually happening is that people are actually passing bottles around the room.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was like, and then the champagne.
And so that was pretty funny.
And I think so everybody sort of BYOs it. They bring champagne because you've been drinking, brand new, not bottled yet Napa Cab for the most part at these tastings. And then you've got palate fatigue, you've eaten lunch, and then you're like, bring on the champagne because it's party time. You're ready for the auction.
We were also, I think, if I remember correctly, we were behind Gary Fish.
We were for the first one, I think, right?
Yeah. And it was just... I have a friend that works for him, and he was just getting everything. I'll just never forget. He was buying everything, and I was like, this is unbelievable.
He comes out strong every year. I mean,
every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was murder hornets.
It is super murder hornets, and Fritz Hatton does the auction with we love Fritz from Arietta. Someone had asked, is this the same event that the famous Scream Eagle sold for 500,000? It's not. That is auction Napa Valley, so that sold at auction. That's in June. That is not industry only. It's a different type of auction. So that Screamy Eagle went for like $500,000, but it was super rare. Was it the 100-point vintage?
It was the 92.
The 92, right?
The first vintage, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a Magnum or 2 Magnums, or no, it was something. It was something
like a
crazy.
6-liter, I think, is what it was. It was like this single. It was insane.
Yeah. So this is different. So that, auction Napa Valley, those are crazy lots that will be comprised of anything from like, trips to super rare bottles like the Screamy Eagle. It could be anything. I mean, anything that, is of significance and you can only get at an auction. That's what auction is. This particular auction is just the barrel auction. So people are bidding on these lots, and there's only one lot per winery. So it's comprised of 5, 10, or 20 cases. Opening bids, do you remember, we're at like $10,000 for 5 cases of wine. So do the math. I mean, like stupid amounts of money.
Yeah.
And like you said, you've got people like Gary Fish from Gary's Marketplace. You've got the buyers from Total Wine. You've got the buyers from a lot of places down in Florida, some big restaurants around the country, particularly steakhouses.
Yeah. I think it is important to point out, though, the difference between auction and Premiere is that Premiere, for those watching and may not know, Premiere is retail and hospitality. So in order to purchase, I'm pretty sure you have to have a retail license, or you have to be a retail buyer, because those lots are going to go and you're going to sell them. So they're larger lots. And then auction, private citizens can go and bid on these lots, which are, like Amanda said, trips and dinners and, exclusive tastings and stuff of that nature. So,
yeah. Do you guys remember what some of your favorite lots were by chance?
I do. And it's actually pretty ironic. And I think I've told Taylor this, but so Taylor is now the national sales manager for Vice Versa, which is Patrice and Sam.
Right. Yeah.
And that was the last wine that we tasted before we went into the auction. And I remember you introducing us to Patrice and tasting the wine, and I was like, this is the best wine I've had all day.
It was great.
So it was really good. And Taylor had nothing to do with it, so it's not like it makes him look good or anything. But
Taylor
it's just coincidental.
Taylor didn't make the wine, right?
It's just a coincidence that he is now the NSM for that label. But
yeah, NSM. Oh, my kids are growing up so much.
I just remember the Hugh Davies one. Which
was great. So it was this back vintage of Schaumburg that was recently disgorged. Let's see. I remember the Dieter lot was gorgeous. I remember Andy Erickson had a couple like really beautiful lots, and he makes a few different wines. I just remember them like across the board. They were wonderful. So last year, do you remember who got the highest bid?
Rudd.
For this year? Yeah, this year is Rudd. Yeah.
Yeah. So that went for $120,000 for 20 cases, which is just insane amounts of money. And I think that went to, didn't they go to Gregor? Yeah. So yeah, every year it's, sort of, who gets the highest bid is sort of, the big grand unofficial prize of the afternoon. And it went to Rudd, and it's gone to like Schaefer in the past. I think once upon a time, Scarecrow was involved in it. So they got the high bid. It changes year to year, but it is a pretty unique event. And then whoever, bids and gets these lots, they get their very own, they get the wine. So it's bottled for them. It gets this special label that obviously says Premiere Napa Valley. It tells you what the winery was, what the cuvee was, how many bottles were produced. So tonight, in about 30 minutes, I'm going to be tasting 3 of these wines. And what's cool about this is, one, the people that buy these wines, they often already have clients that they're going to. So sometimes it's retailers that are purchasing for people that have said, hey, we're going to go in on this lot. We really are interested in having this Vice Versa. And so a lot of this stuff never sees the light of day once it gets auctioned off. what's cool is Napa Valley Vintners, it's Premiere Release Week. So sometimes these wines do make it out into the wild. And so you'll see them on the shelves at different retailers across the country. And so what the Napa Valley Vintners has done is compiled all of the lots from Premiere's past, put together a compendium of what is available via which retailer. So if these are wines that you'd be interested in trying, you can go on the Premiere Napa Valley website and look up like, you know, vice versa, or, you know, I've got this 2017 Honig. It'll show you not only what the cuvee is, but it'll show you where you can purchase those wines. And like I said, it's very rare to get, you know, how many Premiere Napa Valley wines have we tasted that have been bottled?
A handful.
Yeah.
Zero.
I can count on one hand the amount that I've tasted. I mean, they're really, really hard to find.
Mostly from people bringing them into press. And
Exactly.
Putting them there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once they're gone, they're kind of gone forever. But the Napa Valley Vintners always keeps 2 bottles for their stash. Smart, right? And normally what happens is those come out for special occasions, you know, when people come to visit, maybe they'll grab them for dinners. But to celebrate this week, which, you know, is normally a very exciting week with people in town, obviously, we can't do that with COVID, not a lot of people traveling. They've decided to send a handful of us some of these wines directly from their stash and allow us to taste them. So I am the lucky recipient of 3 bottles of Premiere Napa Valley wine. So tonight, I'm going to be tasting this 2017 Honig from Campbell Ranch, or Campbell Hillside, sorry. I've got, this should be really interesting, 2016 Keenan. Jodi, I know you love Keenan. This is Keenan Cab. This is the Tribute 2. This was auction number 22, lot number 17. And then really interesting because I've never, you know, we've tasted some of these wines out of barrel, obviously. I've never had them with age. So this is a 2010 Antica, which is a partnership with Antinori over in Italy. 2010 Antica Antinori 1 Cabernet. So should be pretty cool. I have not tasted any of these wines. I've decided to make the big reveal for tonight, and that's that. I think it's going to be really exciting. So these wines are available, you know, on this website from November 9th through the 15th. You can find them at Premiere Release Week, PremiereNapaValley.com. And of course, all of the money that is raised for this auction goes to benefiting Napa Valley wines, the wine industry, and promoting Napa Valley wines around the world, which of course is a hugely important thing for us right now to make sure that people are still buying wines and buying them from Napa Valley, buying them local, which we love. Guys, why don't you tell us what you're up to these days? Carey, you have given your notice and are finished at press. And so where are you off to next? Can you say?
Yeah, so I am the new wine director over at Mayakama Golf Club in Sonoma County.
Okay.
So I will be starting there on November 16th. I'm very excited. Very strong vintner program over at the club. A lot of vintner members. So it's going to be a great opportunity for me to, rub shoulders with more vintners, which is something I love to do, while also creating a great program for the members, which is something I'm also very much looking forward to.
And hopefully working on your golf swing in the process, right?
So I went to the range the other day, and let me tell you something, I need some work. So maybe Taylor's a scratch golfer, so maybe he can show me a few things. So
we've already worked out a deal. We're good.
Yeah, I definitely
good.
need some work on that. But it's something I'm very excited about. So
good. Well, we're super proud of you. Taylor, what you up to?
All right. Well, I left press about a month ago. I am the director of sales and hospitality for Vice Versa, like Carey had talked about. Super boutique little winery. We're 95% direct to consumer, so the wines are ready and able when people come visit. I deal with some small markets around the country. Just got back from Utah, Colorado. I have a dinner in Texas, so I'm hitting the road when I can and slinging great juice.
Jodi Bronchtein, you want to talk about what you're up to? Just being you and being wonderful?
Sure, yeah. My last day at press is Saturday, and I have no plans. I have no job.
She's a free agent, people.
She's a free agent.
I have received 5 job offers so far.
That's awesome.
Jodi Bronchtein's going to be just fine. Nobody's worried about Jodi.
You know what? This is what I think I'm going to do. The stress and panic gods of the world hate it when you go, I don't know, something will fall in my lap. So I'm literally going to relax. I'm going to study for my WSET3. I'm going to study for my MS exam, both of which are paid for. And I think, I don't know, I might go see family for 2 weeks. So that means that I'll have a job before I can go see them, because
That's
I said
1,000% correct.
I'm good. I will be fine.
Of course, you'll be more than fine. Well, the kids have flown the coop, as have I, as you guys already know. So we're out in the wild, and you won't find us at press, but you will find us at other places.
We out here in the mean wine streets of the world. Yeah, right.
Charter Oak Brunchin.
Charter Oak Brunchin. Yeah, that is like kind of where you can find us on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
At least Amanda.
Well, now, yeah.
Yeah, well, now, yeah, exactly. And we really need to put that. I'm not going to write any more texts about it. We really need to do that. I'm over it.
Understood. We'll make it happen. Guys, it's always a pleasure to see you. It's more than a pleasure. It's necessary, and you guys are family, and I miss you all so much. I wish that we could continue to work together forever and ever and ever and ever. But it's kind of like more fun this way. I feel like, we get to do our own independent things and fill each other in on what's happening, just like family, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to get ready for my tasting. I'm going to be tasting in 25 minutes back here on YouTube, and hopefully without a delay this time. And I'll see you guys later.
Amanda, thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, bye.
Good seeing you.